this your business card holder?
Yeah.
Pantone?
You can grab one if you want.
Yeah, I think we're live. Hello. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? Good. My name is Addison. Welcome this morning. We hope that you are all sugared up and ready for the show. We are Social Media Breakfast. We are a nonprofit organization focusing on community connections, education around digital marketing and social media. We have board options for you. If you really love what this organization is doing, we have a volunteer board. You can help work with myself, Joe, Genevieve, Jake, and Josh. I'm the only A. But we have multiple options. If you want to share your expertise, we're eagerly looking for a few folks. Some news. There is a new president of the board. She's pretty cool. I really believe in this organization. I've been coming since 2013 when I was a student at UW. My life has been a little hectic. I've become a new mom. This is my first event back. Thank you. There's a few facts about me. And then we also have a new VP, Joe, where he's way in the back talking to somebody right now, but congratulate him as well. He is also a dad, also running his own business, and he likes more of the board games, and we both are big movie fans. So if you have recommendations, let us know. You can connect with us on social. We do all of our posts there and everything like that. In addition to our board, we also have volunteers, a little less commitment, but you're also supporting the group. We are actively looking for sponsors to help keep the organization alive and thriving. And then we also have nonprofit spotlights. So if there is a nonprofit in your life that you think needs a shining too, let us know. We have an application on our website. We do want to thank our current sponsors, Dream Bank being our platinum and Stellies being our breakfast sponsor, as well as our other in-kind and creative partners. So with that, Sir Andy.
Let's give it up for Addison and Joe again on their new positions. I've been attending Social Media Breakfast for quite some time as well, too, even before I was a sponsor as well, and really appreciate the long-standing partnership between this organization and Dream Bank. Speaking of which, any first-timers to Dream Bank today? I see some familiar faces. You were ready. I know you've been here before. You have been here before. Yeah, fair enough. So for those of you who maybe aren't familiar, Dream Bank is a free community resource that is put on by American Family Insurance. And everything we do here ladders up towards the inspiration and pursuit of dreams, in large part by removing obstacles and barriers along the way. So how that shakes out, I'd say, is threefold, the largest being the events that we host. So we host anywhere between 6 to 15 free events a month that are all organized through the lens of personal and professional development. One event in particular I wanted to highlight in partnership or in recognition of Black History Month is an event that we have taking place today over the noon hour with Dr. Cooper. So Dr. Cooper works for NASA. Also, her first name is Mugega. She goes by Mu. But it talks a little bit about her inspirational journey getting to NASA, her work at NASA, and is going to be a really solid event. So if you have some time, I highly encourage you to check that out. And how you would register for this event is on our website, which is amfam.com/dreambank. Otherwise, we have a bunch of these postcards setting out with the QR code on the back. Go ahead, snap a picture. It'll bring you right to that registration. But in addition to the events like this, we also have a lot of business programming that I head up as well. So anything from tactics, which might be how do I generate more leads via Facebook ads, all the way to theories, exploring concepts or frameworks within business and everything in between. So a lot of really wonderful, rich content that we have. We partner with a lot of very awesome subject matter experts. And again, you can find a good, concise list of all of our programming on our website, which again is amfam.com/dreambank. In addition to the events that we host, we also function as a drop-in co-working space. I know a handful of you have utilized that space as well, but it's where all the red tables and chairs are at. So our hours of operation are Tuesday through Thursday, 9 to 5. You're always able to come in and have a quietish place to work, complimentary coffee, Wi-Fi, tea, water, snacks, things of that nature. And then we also have a very robust and interactive exhibit in the space as well, too. And then when we're not utilizing our space for our own programming, we turn it over to the community members to utilize for free of charge as well. So maybe you sit on an advisory board, looking to get your team out of the office. Maybe there's a book club that you're a part of and just looking for a central location to meet, go ahead and reach out to us. You can talk to me today or my coworker, Jenna. She's standing in the back. We'd be happy to have that conversation with you. So that should shed a little bit of light, maybe for those of you who aren't familiar. But with that, I will go ahead and turn it back over to Addison.
Thank you, Andy. Round of applause, round of applause. Next, we have a very sweet, sweet treat. If you have not grabbed a little container, if you'd like to come up and just give a little overview. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me today, everybody. I'm really so excited to be here. My name is Stella Buckley, and I'm the owner of Stelly's Ice Cream. I'm not sure if many of you have heard of it. We opened our store back in June, but we're only like a half mile up the road on East Wash, kind of approaching First Street area. And I'm really so excited. It's been so much fun to have an ice cream company. I started making ice cream in my home back in 2023, and then I did the farmer's market in 2024, and that was so profitable. And so I quit my day job. I used that money that I had saved to open a store and use our ice cream carts to cater with. And it's just been a really amazing opportunity to get to meet members in my community and then also try out new flavors in the store. So we always have something fun and funky going on. Right now we have our buttered toast and blackberry jam ice cream to kind of celebrate an ice cream for breakfast day, but we do have some normal flavors too. We have a strawberry swirl ice cream back there, and we also have our cherry pie a la mode. So if anybody has questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'm available all the time, and I'm happy to network. My email is stella@stellysicecream.com. So keeping it simple, and yeah, you can find us on social anywhere. Thanks.
Yes, and you can find them on social. Share pictures of and your thoughts on the delicious treats. Our nonprofit this month is Logan's Hearts and Smiles. It's a really great organization helping with accessibility for children in our area. And Logan's dad is actually here in his very spiffy bow tie and vest right over there. So make sure you stop by their table, check it out, look them up on social as well. They're great. They're great. That being said, again, if there is a nonprofit in your life that you think is important enough to get a little spotlight, apply on our website. We have a Facebook portal to give away, and I have the name right here. Milsa. Milsa, yeah. There you go.
Ask a question?
Yes.
We got two people here that old people that don't know what a Facebook portal is.
Facebook portal. So it is it's a little bit older technology, but it is kind of like a photo frame, but it's connecting to your Facebook. I think I got that right. But yeah, it's a little bit dated now, but it's still usable. So very exciting. Oh yeah. Facebook's coming out with all kinds of different technology, glasses, AI, all that jazz. But
Facebook has AI too.
everyone's got AI. Didn't you see the Super Bowl ads? But then we have one more left, and we'll be giving that away at our March event, and you must be present. Speaking of our March event, we are going to have Laura Marie, and it's going to be talking about authenticity. So again, AI, but showing up as your true self. It'll be a good one to see. You can RSVP on the website, already available for that. Let us know if you have any questions, but then we'll hopefully see you again next month. Stay in touch. We're on social media. We have a Facebook group that kind of gives a little more in detail about a little more advanced social media tactics and such. But then also it's just an online community that you can be a part of and ask questions. Without further ado, who you're actually here to see, John, Steve.
I think they're actually here for the ice cream.
They're just here. I think they're here to see you.
So I'm Steve.
And I'm John. And we're Huston Design. We're from Huston Design. And while I get the presentation set up, John, why don't you talk a little bit about Huston Design?
Yeah, Huston Design is a graphic design, like print and web, branding and marketing, small company. We have 2 designers. Myself, I'm a designer, and then Steve's a marketer and our business development person. I started this business 25 years ago with a nonprofit that we still have today, which is the Wisconsin Academy of Sciences, Arts, and Letters. A fantastic organization. If you don't know much about them, you should look them up. They just promote a lot of great social issues around the state. But yeah, we help companies that need some, that have really complex issues or problems or things that they need to explain, and we figure out a way to. What are these for?
That's for the room. That's for the folks online.
So no one here heard that?
No, you're gonna have to run it.
I can't do that. Complex stories to tell. We distill it down into simple, digestible, like nuggets of information. So like your audience knows what your intention is.
And there we go. And I'm all cockeyed. Sorry. Yeah, I don't know why it's doing that. But anyway, brand development, print materials, website design, development, content marketing, really anything that you need for digital and print. So just want to ask real quick, what are the costs of a poor web experience? And feel free to just shout them out, raise your hand.
Bounce rate.
Bounce rate, who said that? Tyler. Lost customer, there you go.
Nice.
Yeah, you gotta, if you're gonna say it, you gotta look up, because otherwise you can get it in the face. Anybody else?
Lost money, sponsors.
There you go, Carol.
Oh, nice throw.
Lost credibility. Lost credibility. There you go.
Misinformation.
Misinformation. Sounds great.
Oh.
All right. Well, so yeah, those are definitely the costs of a poor web experience. Captured, a few up here as well. But at the end of the day, your users are judging you based on the look of your website. So 75% of users just judge your credibility based on your website. It takes less than a second, and that's even 5/100ths of a second for someone to form that opinion of you. And then 94% of the people don't trust your website if it's outdated. So some very important things about what your look is like, what your experience is like on the web. So today we're just going to focus on 5 things. And within those 5, there's like 19 things in total that we're going to try and touch on in 40 minutes. Hopefully we can do it. Typography is, how your
Well, we're going to do typography. We'll do brand story, trust breakers, calls to action, and then AI. We'll dig into it here in a sec. So typography, huge deal, low contrast. ADA is a really big thing in website design now, and it makes sense. And it's actually pretty stringent. Like if you look at this kind of tells you we ran these through, each one of these through the WCAG compliance tester, and you can see like these are legible, right? But they don't pass the test. The only, like this one, only this large contrast or this large type passed that WCAG AAA test, and then really to get to a AAA, which is pretty stringent. The AA is kind of a standard, but you can see like it takes a lot to get to a fully compliant ADA website. What's
ADA?
Oh,
the Americans with Disabilities Act.
people are visually impaired. 8% of Americans are visually impaired. And so it's super important. And even if like, you know, if it just helps your website too, like,
You don't want to knock people out. You don't want to be insensitive to what people can and cannot do on your website. So try and pass it where you're AA compliant, as opposed to not thinking about that group of people at all. And there's lots of other issues that come up from a WCAG compliance standpoint. It's also people that are hearing impaired, making sure you're capturing, et cetera, et cetera. So offer good contrast.
Right.
Older users like myself, who, if they don't have their glasses on, can't really see contrast. So even if we're not, classified as visually impaired, we do have impairments. And so make sure that you're incorporating as many people into your audience through your design as you can.
we have a question already.
Can I ask a stupid question?
Shoot.
So for, I understand the audio part and whatever, but for visually impaired.
Yeah.
Put a website, now I get it, you can't read Braille through a computer and there's keyboards and there's ways. to
Right.
do it. But how you have closed captioning, is there a way to do Braille, not to touch, but it's, for lack of a better word, the Morse code part of it where they read it, or is that too cumbersome?
People usually have screen readers that are helping them. And so there's a lot of other tools in terms of how you tag your images and
But does your
describe.
website a special feature for that?
Mm,
If
mm-mm.
if that makes sense.
Your website, if it's constructed properly, a screen reader will pick it up.
Oh, okay.
So there are things that you can do in terms of how you have headlines, you have subheadlines, those are nested. They make sense. If as long as you're tagging them as the headline that they're at, the screen reader will pick them up and read it. If there's an image that it comes across, you tag that
You
image.
already gone over my
It-
head. If you can make it work, that's fine.
You can make it work.
That was a good question. Another super simple thing that you can do, and it's all about legibility, making things easy for your audience to read your information that you're putting out there. And a lot of these typography things are super simple, but they're really easy to get wrong, right? So obviously in the first column, we have really poor spacing between the headings and the body copy, and then the next heading, there's no space at all, no visual break. And you can see it slowly improves with the visual break between the paragraph and then the heading. And then the heading actually has a little space after it. So like, look at right here, like super tight right there. That's not really necessarily good. That makes people feel like really constricted and like tense. And it doesn't really happen unless you're like on a big website with a bunch of text, and then it really gets magnified. So I know this is super simple, but it's really, really important. A strong rule of thumb is to have 135% line spacing between your typography or your paragraph space, and that will set you up pretty well. When you're, this kind of goes back to like the structure of your website and ADA compliance. Like you really need to write, so you're writing content that is structured so it's SEO appropriate. And what I mean by that, think of it as a table of contents. Like this is our H1, this is our H2, H3, H3, and then back to an H2. So like you have categories and you have subcategories and even tertiary categories, and your content needs to be written in that way. It helps your SEO, it helps your reader, and it helps your design actually. So it makes things really organized and simple to follow through.
And it's also helping your AI getting picked up in summaries too. AI bots are working the same way that your Google bots and other search bots are working.
Another super simple thing is inadequate white space. And really essentially what I'm showing here is, obviously these are just colored blocks, right? But imagine it's like pieces of content. Like you can overwhelm someone super simply. There's examples later on too that we'll have that'll show you like real world examples of like craziness. And just like these are the same things, right? But this one's a lot more calm. It's a lot easier to read. If you came to a website, this is the header, you had 2 images and these things, you could actually digest that amount of information. That one you could not. It was just pure chaos, right? And that level, those in-betweens are super important on making sure that you don't present way too much information from the get-go. And a lot of that has to do with your page height. So like pacing as you go down the page, if you have long website pages, having clear delineation from image and typography, and good typography that like stacks itself on top of each other and has really good, strong structure and dividers. Long line lengths. You know, when you read a book, like a novel, there's a reason why they're like 6 inches by 9 inches, because your eye can only track so long until it kind of loses, and it makes it hard to read. And really, if you're doing it for hours on end, you get line fatigue. And so it's super important to keep like long line lengths to a minimum, unless you do some design work to mitigate that. And I'll show you on the next slide what to do, but like 60 characters per line is a good rule of thumb on the amount that you should have for body copy. Go ahead and flip, Steve. And then if you need, or if you want a full width column of text on your website, like a quote or something, that should probably be bigger and a little bit more spacing so it's easier to track.
So now I'm going to talk through brand story briefly. Who here wants to share? You have a favorite book, favorite character, wants to share who it is and why? Got some candy for you.
Braveheart,
Braveheart.
Ooh.
Why do you like it?
because it shows courage, overcoming adversity, victory. It shows people doing things for the betterment of somebody else and not, you know, because you get the ball out many times, blah, blah, blah.
Sure.
Plus, it's just a cool movie.
Cool. And how does it make you feel when you watch it?
Empowered. And like tough.
Sounds
I got 2 laughs.
So that, yeah, that's really at the essence of, you know, why story matters, right? It's, you know, you build some type of attachment to the story. You like the main character, the main hero, makes you feel an emotion, and that emotion evokes something within you. So brand story does the same thing, that whatever story, and if you know story brand methodology, this is going to sound familiar. You've got a main character, a target, a person. So think, you know, Luke Skywalker, right? And then Luke has this problem. You know, we've got Darth Vader, the Death Star. You know, society is not going to be the same anymore. What, you know, how can I solve that? And Luke's got some internal struggles too, in terms of maturity, growing up, and being a responsible adult. But then Obi-Wan comes around. He's the problem solver, and your brand has to be the problem solvers. Not all about you, the brand, it's about your target customer, your main character. So then that problem solver, that guide, has to come up with a plan. Here's the plan. Here's how we're going to go tackle the Death Star. Here's how we're going to get you up to speed. They're going to push them into action. And then they're going to paint a figure of a future of progress and prosperity. And at the end of the day, they're going to get someone out of that predicament. You know, what's the predicament if you don't go down this path? And then what's the promise? What's going to happen? What great benefit is going to accrue to you? And here's why it's important. If you have an emotional ad copy, we've done, you know, seen some testing out there where it's performing twice as well as rational ad copy. There have been some studies out there that show customers that have an emotional connection have a far greater lifetime value than those who don't. And then customers with an emotional connection are much more valuable, according to Harvard Business Review. And here's kind of a depiction of that, right? If you're not emotionally connected, you're actually below a baseline. And the further connected you become, the greater that connection to the results are accrued to the bottom line. Yes.
Do those numbers change? I'm assuming that's B to C. Do those numbers change if it's B2B?
It's across the board. It's across the board. Really, the value of an emotional connection accrues to both. Because at the end of the day, you're dealing B2B. You're dealing with people, right? And people buy from people. Yeah, you may have a great solution, but you know what? If company X has a better rapport, I'm probably going to go to company X. Or if I feel better about doing business with that person. Good question. So you can show your why. You can show the benefit for your brand story within your web page, right? So here they're showing goals. Here are their goals. They're making it numeric, and to John's point, look how easy it is to read those. You can do it that way. You can show, hey, here's why we need you. Here's different things you can do that accrue to that organization. Or regenerative food, win-win. They're laying out the case for why it's a win-win and why it would be important to you as a target audience member or user to the site. You're connecting to user needs. So we copy, or me copy, talking about the brand itself. Don't make yourself the hero. People want to put yourself in their shoes. People want to read about themselves. They want a story that resonates to them. And so we like to see a lot of you copy. So here, talking about getting your customers understanding of your customers across devices and platforms, or see what's in it for you, and unlocking some reasons there that are more you specific, or me for the target audience that's reading it, the user that's reading it. That makes sense. And then simplifying ideas. Shine Technologies, they're dealing with a lot of PhDs, but you know what? They've got a lot of potential investors, a lot of people that can benefit from the technology. So how can you simplify the idea down to a lower common denominator? So I don't need to be a nuclear physicist, which is actually their primary target audience at Shine, but I don't need to be a nuclear physicist to understand what they're doing. So I hate to say dumb it down, but you've got to make it simple for people to read and understand. And then here, no clear call to action, and we'll go into call to action in a little bit, but get in touch, and I have no idea what's going to happen next after I read this call to action. So let's do something that's a little more user friendly. Hey, book a demo. Okay, I get it. If I'm booking a demo, I know what's coming next, as opposed to some nebulous get in touch.
Yeah, trust breakers. Things that will obviously build trust with your customers as they come into your website. 72% of customers trust a business more after reading positive reviews and testimonials. You don't have to have 150 different positive reviews and testimonials if you do it right. But it's super important to have those proof points on your website. It can boost sales by 270% if you have reviews and testimonials. 92% of buyers read reviews and testimonials before buying. I don't know about you, but like whenever I go out, if I'm buying a shovel, I like look at reviews. I mean, maybe I'm weird about it, but I actually do. Like different things like boots, shirts, I read reviews all the time and try and figure out what the best thing is that I can buy for the task that I'm trying to do, whether it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't have to be a big purchase either, like a car or whatever. But so big thing about testimonials, like it's kind of the same thing as the call to action. You need to make them so that they're specific, that they're trustworthy, and that you know who it's coming from. The first one is, it's kind of fine. It's all right. They have a picture there, but you don't really know if it's a customer. It could be totally made up. But this, like in this example, not it's ours, but it says, you can have a rating if you can do that. you can have just a really poignant quote or testimonial that fits the copy that it's surrounding. Like this is on our portfolio page for mortgage, but it came from Brian, and he's the communication officer at mortgage. And all these things kind of lead up to trust. Like, why wouldn't you trust this person? He put his face on our website, and he put, you know, his name and his title on there. And it's just a building process, right?
And, you know, if some of you in the back can't read it, it says your business came through for us in a big way. We loved working with you and found exactly the success you promised. Doesn't tell me, you know, what that success was, you know, no specifics. Whereas there, he's talking about, hey, we understand branding, visual identity, and then across multiple projects and people, they helped us develop a remarkably sophisticated and consistent look and feel. So on our, you know, branding page, that's a great quote.
Right. Very specific. Yep. The lack of proof.
I think here we're looking at, hey, are these folks solving problems like mine? You know, are they trustworthy? What's going to do it? So we talked about the testimonial, but, you know, are there detailed case studies? You know, you could up your testimonial game by having video. People love video. It resonates better than just a printed word. Are there media mentions? So making sure that if you're mentioned in the media or other big review sites, you know, have, you know, post those there and post links back to them. Also helps you from SEO. Awards and recognition, you know, you can toot your horn a little bit when it comes to those. Social media mentions, before and after photos are great if your business is conducive to that. Customer reviews, of course. NASCAR vanity logo tree also helps. So you got an example of that down there in the corner. It's great if you have that scrolling across the screen to show who you're working with and who's found success.
Yeah, like-minded businesses trust these people, so why shouldn't I? Right.
Or like on the far right side, you know, IMS showing here are the metrics that our customers, actual customers, have experiences. Proof of what you do. And then here it goes to, you know, Coca-Cola, other examples of, you know, how it's been done, Coca-Cola or the other site there on the right.
So having staff bios on your website, knowing that, like, so if someone comes to your website, they don't know you from, you know, a hole in the wall. So like, they really need to make a connection. You know, I hate having my photo taken and having my mug up on our website, but it's up there. I know it's important. And so like having that and having, you know, like Brian's bio and his title and, you know, probably where he went to school and all these areas of expertise that he has, those things really help when people are digging into, you know, trying to buy a big purchase, you know, depending on what kind of business you're running. This is good. At least they have photos and they have titles and whatnot, so they know who they're going to maybe deal with, what kind of team they're stepping into. But those bios really help. They show your personality too. They can really bring out some things. Like mine says something about starting at Happy Joe's Pizza, and there are people that have commented about that. So nobody knows what Happy Joe's is. It's an Iowa thing. I grew up in Iowa, so
yeah. Throw your favorite
They read
band
'em.
up there. Yeah, music. This is the music I like. These
Yeah.
are the books I read. Anything that builds that personal connection.
There's a benefit, maybe it's industry dependent, between sort of the CV bio versus the story about the person and why they matter to the company or website.
I think it's about tone on your website. You know, obviously on a design website, we can get away with some silliness. You know, we really want to show our personality and how we connect to people. Like on a biosciences, you know,
You know, you can show a personal side, but still be serious about it,
Mhm,
right?
mhm.
If that's your brand, it's more of a serious still.
So when you say your brand, I understand that, but shouldn't your target audience customer, or who you're serving, or whatever, the reason you exist, do you mean that part of the brand or your color scheme?
No, yeah, your brand encompasses everything, all the experiences that you have. But yes, what's important to your target audience? What are they expecting? What would they want to see? I think is what would be appropriate here. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Good question. And then, impact on revenue in terms of, a trust breaker, your website has to be quick. If people aren't waiting around anymore, it's, everyone wants things now, right? So even waiting 3 or 4 seconds for your site to load is going to have an impact on conversion. So here, if I look at a 1 second load time versus a 4, it's a revenue loss of just over $1,000 per 1,000 visitors. And then that's a lot of money that you're leaving on the table. So you can do the math for your own brands. Obviously, if you're a B2B, this is an average sale of $50 for a B2C brand. But if you've got thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars, and some of your B2B brands have it, that's a very big number. So anyway, 53 of website visitors will leave a page if it takes more than 3 seconds to load. 90 users are 90% more likely to bounce when it goes from 1 second to 5 seconds. There's a whole bunch of research on that. And then other things that are trust breakers, right? Poor spelling and grammar. There's so many spell checkers today. Run it through something before you put content out there. Spammy content, we all know that. Missing contact information, pop-up ads. Don't have a pop-up ad coming to ask me to rate your site in the first 3 seconds that I'm on it. Broken links, poor navigation. You guys are all marketers. You understand that, I think. And then calls to action. You want to take this one, or you want me?
You're doing so great.
Okay. So, look, what are your calls to action? We kind of talked about it here before. Even get started now is kind of nebulous. So what can you do to help the user understand what are we signing up for? What's the expectation when I go there? And then make sure that it's simple, that it leads to a website account page. Getting started now is not good. We already talked about surrounding homepage information that doesn't create enough interest for a sign up. So whatever you have around your CTA, your call to action button has to relate to what they're interested in. So I wouldn't have a talk to me about website design on my branding page, right?
Yeah, set up their expectations too. Like if they're calling to get an estimate from you, how long does that take? Is it a half-hour process? Is it a 2-minute process? That would make a big difference on how many calls you get, because not a lot of people have a half hour to call for an estimate, right? So if you can ensure that it's a super quick process, I would think your response rate would go up. So expectations are huge.
And then is it a weak or inadequate one? We've talked about it. So this used to be Travel Wisconsin, 58-year tradition. It says our family vacation trip ideas for you are the 2 buttons there. I don't know what that really means, but after they changed their banner, and then now it says find your fun. Little better, for me to understand, what I'm going to do there. Decision fatigue. I don't know about you, but
so they have. I'll take this one. They have so many calls to action here. Let alone their problem is they have way too much fantastic photo content that they wanted to use it in every spot that they could on their homepage. That's their homepage. Can you imagine? It's baffling to me. It's really pretty stuff, except for it's just way too much. You're just not sure what to do and where to go. And this one is just as bad. Not photo content, but everything is a learn more, donate, call us today. Make sure that when you do a call to action that it has purpose, and that you give the real call to action it's due, and that you can convolute it. So your call to action, even if it's a great one, gets missed because of all the other stuff around it.
So reliance on AI. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because I think we all understand AI, but hey, it's going to inflate significant. And these are some telltale signs, I think, that people are using AI. So if you are using AI, just take a look at your text a little more closely. Plays a vital. It's going to inflate significance. It's going to plays a vital role, serves as a testament, leaves a lasting impact. Try and get rid of some of those statements. I mean, it's just good writing, right? Anyone who's a writer here, get rid of that stuff. Ranges that say nothing, that's a big pet peeve. Our services range from strategic planning to implementation support. That's not a range. You're talking about specific services. There's no range at all there. Get rid of the grade school summary language in summary and conclusion overall. These are, again, just basic stuff that you see in AI. The lack of emotion is kind of the big one. Your people and your brand is dealing with other people. So, and make your users connect with you emotionally. Put some emotion into your copy. Watch the 3-part list. 3-part lists are great, but you don't need to have it all over the place. So that's all that we have today. Reach out. Anyone that's here today wants a 30-minute consultation on their website or brand or whatever the case may be. Marketing, you just want to chat about marketing. Happy to sit with you. Just give me a call, send me an email, let me know. You'll get the deck. Within the deck, there's also a resource page that'll give you links to like a WCAG contrast checker that John talked about. There's other web WCAG compliance things that you can do there as well. Speed checkers, things like that to improve your web performance. And there's also testimonial questionnaire. So help give you some prompts when you're asking people for it. Don't just say, hey, Joe, can you give me a testimonial about the work we did? Say, hey, Joe, can you tell me about how easy it was to work with us? Or can you tell me how, we were able to make the web design process painless for you? Ask specific questions and you'll get a much more specific testimonial. So open to any questions, or I don't know how we're doing on time.
Yeah, questions. I'll bring the mic around.
Go ahead.
And then that one. Please. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Questions?
If we go back a couple slides to the call to actions, like all the call to actions right there. Oh, yep. So you see a lot of times, right? Let's look at the one on the right because it's more close up. But the row of 3 images, and then they each have kind of a call to action. I've seen those. I mean, I feel like there may be a purpose for something like that in terms of, an alternate or a second navigating to important parts of the website. I don't know, like, what are some ways to mitigate that? If that makes sense.
Yeah, it totally makes sense. So I see what your dilemma is, I believe. And so I think it's the amount that are there and in close proximity, and they all say learn more. So like you really want to say, but like when you're sending someone to a new page, like let's say you're going to download a PDF. Do they know it's actually a PDF that's going to open up in a new tab, and it's a PDF? They should know that. They should have a visual clue, whether it's through an icon or something, that it's actually a downloadable PDF. Like the more you can ease people's expectation on what click they're going to get when they go there, it's better. Does that help?
I think so.
Okay.
And yeah, there's no information here about, what is the stock market experience, right? So there, and maybe you had some information, then you can understand, what am I learning about, type of thing.
Yeah, for sure.
This might be Captain Obvious, but does it matter when you're designing, or the way, your intended is for a cell phone or a tablet or a laptop or an actual computer? Because I know a lot of times, and in my case, it's probably user error, but how things pop up on a phone per se is different than a computer. But most people are using phones now than computers. Or
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know what the percentage is for phones to computers, but it's about equal, I would say. And I'm probably wrong, but it's super important, and it's easy to overlook those things. When we design websites, we're constantly looking at actually a phone size, a tablet size, desktop size, and a super wide desktop size for all those variations, because it does shift little bits here and there, and it makes a big difference on how things read and are perceived on those different devices, for sure. It takes a lot of time. It's a lot of work to get all that stuff perfect.
There also is a question online. I can't send the candy through online. Sorry about that. But yeah, if you do want the 30-minute consultation, just send me an email, even if you're online, attended online. Just send me an email, call me, and I'll be happy to talk to you. Any other online questions?
Actually, I have hi, and thanks for the presentation.
You're welcome.
Picking up some good stuff here. Just a few questions. My background is not developing websites, but I obviously use them a lot. Some are functional and information's there that I want to access. But I sometimes wonder, for websites, if it's a brand new user that's not familiar with your website, the landing page should be welcoming to them. Maybe through technology, you realize they've not been on your site before, and have a nice welcoming type of a message, and maybe even a short welcoming video about their brand, like Dave creates over next to me. Just to, when you brand new to meeting somebody, it's the same thing. You're, welcome. Thank you for, being on the website. And if it's a return user, welcome back. I mean, can you structure websites that way? I know some people might not want to have cookies or what have you in order for the website to determine if you're new or coming back. And then the additional thought was, once you have them, are there tools that you could put on your website that would help them in their everyday business? That, hey, they've got a great tool. I'm going to go back to the website. I want to put in these calculations, or I'm going to learn about doing this or that, and they return to your site for learning purposes, things like that. Maybe it's a farm implement website, and somebody needs to know about changing the oil in a tractor, things like that. It lives on that website, so they return. So
Yeah.
That's more about content too. Just a few ideas and thoughts.
I'm not sure about the question there for sure, but absolutely, you should treat your homepage as your intro to someone that knows nothing about you. It should show who you are, what you're about, what you're selling if you're selling something, what your mission is, and what your needs are. I mean, they're there to learn about you. So, like, you definitely want to make sure that that person that is new knows exactly what you, not only what you do, what you want them to do on your website or with your organization. Maybe it's volunteer or whatever. But then also, I mean, you're right. Like, great tools. Like, how many people use a retirement calculator? I have a retirement tab up all the time. Like, I'm so nervous about it right now, but so like, I'm in that stage of life. But those tools are super valuable. They don't have to be on your homepage because people find them and then they just like do like I do and never close them, right? Steve has, how many tabs do you have open on your computer? Should we check? Yeah. So anyway, yeah, that's a really good point. That's a good question. Go ahead.
Go for it.
Curious about tracking on the back end specifically. What would you say are the most important analytics you should track for your website, and maybe how to implement them on the back end, like Google Analytics, event tracking, key maps, anything like that? What do you think?
I wouldn't say I'm an analytics expert, but I think it's going to be views, users, engagement, bounce rate is key. If people are coming into your site, they're looking for something, they're not finding it right away, they're bouncing. To me, that's probably one of the big metrics. Conversion, is obviously it's there, and your revenue stats that are coming off it. So how many bookings am I able to drive? Those are always big. You've got people, I think, that are much more in tune to analytics, but at a high level, that's what I really would say you want to look at. Thanks, good question.
So I am quite susceptible to overwhelm and the shiny object syndrome. So out of the 19 things that you shared, what are like the 3, like you gotta focus on these things, like 80-20 principle? These are the things, these are the small levers that are gonna open the big doors.
The first thing I would say is it goes back to that question of like, make sure you're explaining who you are and what you want them to do on your website so they understand what kind of business you are and what your mission is. So I think that that's super important on your homepage. But I also think you need to make sure that I would fine tune your call to action. And if it's not working, drill down and figure out why. Try a different one. Throw a photo on there. Do something that's big, and sometimes color just helps. Like if it's big and red. I mean, I may be against your brand, but color makes a huge difference on some of those items like that. Just drawing attention. What would be a third, Steve?
I'll say the nuance to what John said. Understand what it is that you do in context to what they need, right? So make sure you're making it about them, your user, as opposed to, this is what we do. I think the third, I like the CTA, call to action. That's a good one. I do think that the social proof and the testimonial of trust, that's a big one. I'm tied between that, but it's got to be the speed of loading. It's got to be the speed of your website. It doesn't matter how much your site has, if it's not going to load correctly for users. That may change as we get into more of a zero-click environment, right, with AI. That may change. So then your users may be going to your website specifically to find certain things. Still got to be quick for them to find it, but they might be willing to tolerate a little more in that kind of environment. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Does that make sense? Good question.
One last question.
Nothing else online.
So we noticed that depending on the browser that people use, the website loads differently. How do you deal with that?
It's the same as like doing different device testing. You have to test it on different platforms too. It's annoying. It takes a long time. That's why websites cost so much. They just take a lot of vetting to make sure that that they work properly. It's tough to do. Email marketing has the same problem too. Like if you do email marketing and you do a thing from MailChimp, let's say, like different email browsers will have present it differently too. And that's really hard. That's even harder, but yeah, it's tough. You just have to do a lot of testing. Usually if I can just add on to that, the simpler your website, like if you have the easier it is for those devices to manage all that content. And honestly, when you distill it down to simple like design rules and things like that, your design's better anyway, and it communicates clearer. And so once you get to that, like things start to get a little more smooth as well. Anyone else?
Awesome. Thank you guys. Round of applause, round of applause. That concludes our event today. If you have any questions for the board, please let us know. Otherwise, please visit the nonprofit spotlight table. And one more time for the Huston Design guys. Houston.
Nobody.